This is the 2012 Toyota Tacoma Baja Edition. Now, Toyota's made small off-road pickup trucks for quite some time, but this is kind of an interesting entry for the US market. It's an almost fully equipped Toyota off-road package that's had raised suspension, some serious suspension modifications, off-road tires, etc. right from the factory to make this sort of the buy it from the showroom floor and take it out on the road. Or, you know, use it for your small militia in some tiny little country somewhere. I fully expect to see some of these things with machine guns on the back, helping to overthrow some sort of communist regime soon. Under the hood, we have Toyota's 4-liter V6 engine. It produces 236 horsepower and 266 pound-feet of torque in the Tacoma. It's mated to a 5-speed Toyota automatic transmission and a part-time all-wheel drive system. So you can see things are fairly easy to work on under the hood yourself. There's a decent amount of room around the engine. We do have the relocated oil filter up here, which is kind of an interesting place for it. My only complaint about that is you can see it has this little oil catch pan here, but that just drains sort of right onto your hoses and the rest of the suspension components under the hood. Our air intake over here is directed into the front quarter panel. Probably wouldn't be too hard to add a snorkel. But as you can see, based on the height of this vehicle, that air intake is fairly high in the vehicle, so you can afford a decent amount of water without worrying about getting water in your engine. In addition to these bright red springs, the Baja Edition gets a 2-inch increased ride height over the regular off-road Tacoma. We also get these enormous 60mm motorhome shocks. They're supposedly motorhome shocks, according to Toyota, that were then retuned for this particular vehicle. They're enormous, they're heavy duty, and they're designed to have increased cooling for off-road duty in this vehicle. In the rear, we have shocks with a remote reservoir, which again allow increased cooling and performance for off-road duty. And we get these Baja-specific TRD wheels. And of course, some Baja graphics on the side of the pickup truck. This generation Tacoma has a fairly nice interior. Of course, the plastics are hard, as you would expect in a pickup truck, but they do look fairly durable and fairly easy to clean. We have our single-zone manual climate control here, USB interface, of course, and up here we have the optional Toyota Entune radio. This is a $1,900 option, and it does allow apps as well as navigation. The navigation system is fairly easy to use and works with your smartphone to provide additional navigation data such as traffic conditions as well as fuel prices, etc. We have a glove box over here, which is fairly nicely sized, and the Baja Edition gets a leather-wrapped steering wheel, which I really like. It is a very nice wheel, and these seats are supposedly stain and water resistant fabric seats. Kind of an interesting choice for an off-road vehicle. Another thing is there's no carpet in the Baja. We get instead this sort of foamy plastic. As you can see, it's not really a carpet replacement, and it's not hosable like you would think a Jeep would be, but it is easy to mop out, so you can get a wet cloth and you can wipe down your car. Just don't bring out the garden hose. The steering wheel is very similar to other Toyota models. We have our audio controls over here. We have our Bluetooth controls over here with the voice recognition button. Works very well with Toyota Entune as well for destination entry. And we get our usual cruise control stock down here. Again, this is a part-time all-wheel drive system. So we have our regular 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive high, which locks the center differential. That means that you can get some binding in narrow maneuvers if you're not on a soft surface. You can push, put it in neutral, and then push to turn to L4. That engages the low-range gearbox. Down here we have our Toyota A-Track button, which is separate from the rest of the controls and all-wheel drive systems. We have our fog lights, rear differential lock. This turns on and off the power adapter in the cargo area. We have our stability control, our hill assist, and this is rollover control. So this rollover button here will allow you to turn off the side impact airbags if you're going to be doing rock climbing and you're going to have your vehicle at an angle and you don't want those airbags to suddenly go off. And then down here, which is an interesting location for it, you can see we get a little control here for the tire pressure sensors. So if you're going to be going off-road into sandy areas, you can have the car not bug you about low tire pressure. The back seat is fairly comfortable for a small pickup truck. This front seat's adjusted for me at 6 feet tall, and I can fit in the back seat here. Now my knees are touching the front seat, but it's really not terribly uncomfortable. Decent amount of headroom as you would expect in any pickup truck, and the seat backs here in the rear are quite comfortable. Something unusual for a pickup truck, actually. They also fold, as you can see here. The seat back folds, allowing you access to a storage compartment there, and the seat bottom cushion tumbles forward, allowing you access to a little cubby here, as well as if we lean this seat back down. You can see we get a fairly flat storage area here, and again, access to those interesting little cubbies back here. It's now time for our exclusive trunk comfort score. The Baja, despite having a small bed, gets a solid 10 out of 10 because I can stand up in the trunk. It's not all off-roading in the Baja Edition. We get some decent creature comforts. We have a nice bed liner. We have a 400 watt maximum power adapter. It's a 120 volt power adapter back here in the trunk. We get some decent little storage cubbies here in the back, as well as some nice cargo tie downs. Now, because Toyota would like their Baja in one piece when we return it so that other people can review it, we aren't going to take this vehicle rock climbing or seriously off-road, and we're not going to flip it or run it into a bush or anything like that. But I can say that this vehicle does behave very well off-road, as you would expect with a vehicle with locking center differential, locking rear differential, and enormous tires. Some of the niceties that Toyota has included both for on-road and off-road driving is that in addition to that electronically locking rear differential, we also have regular old traction control, which will just brake one wheel to keep it from spinning, but we also have an electronic limited slip differential as well. So we have sort of 3 levels there, and those 3 levels work in both 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive modes, where you can lock the rear differential, you can have the auto electric limited slip, or you can just go with regular old traction control. So it gives you a decent number of options. Now, on the road, the first thing you'll notice about the Baja Edition is that Toyota has installed a catback exhaust system, and the catback exhaust system, to my ear, makes the Baja fairly annoying. So I think I would try and find someone who wanted that and would swap with them. But if you like a stronger exhaust note, this is probably the vehicle for you. I find it a little bit drony on the highway. Now, our on-the-highway mileage is a little bit less than stellar. We've been averaging about 18 miles per gallon on the highway. We took a decent trip down 101 to Santa Barbara in this vehicle. We averaged about 19 or so on that trip, about 17 overall in mixed driving. This vehicle is something that you probably could drive to work every day if you were a pickup truck sort of person, and then take off-roading on the weekends with only some minor modifications. I think I'd probably add a winch to the front, some crazy lights, something along those lines, just because I could. So how much will all this set you back? $39,150, which seems like a bit much to me. And not because it's a new car, but because if I'm going to go off-roading in my vehicle, I think I'd probably tear it up pretty badly. So I would probably buy a used Toyota Tacoma and then jack it up myself and then beat the snot out of it.